Okay, here we are again. So, let me just make sure that I'm not watching myself and listening to myself and weird stuff like that. Yeah, so going to do some work here today. I'm trying to get I got a new lens for my camera. I moved my camera because I kind of moved my desk around a little bit. So I'm trying to figure out exactly how to set this stuff up in the nicest way. So let me know if anything looks weird about it or anything. Cool. Okay, so I need to build out this landing page that Steve designed for Tailwind UI, and I thought it would be fun to kind of do it on stream. There's some tricky parts, probably some not so tricky parts, and hopefully, it'll be fun and we'll learn a couple things. So let's jump over to kind of our environment here. So I've got a Tailwind UI sort of component scaffold set up for us to work on. And yeah, we're just going to try and build this out. So the interesting thing about this, in this case, that there is a bunch of this is already kind of done in the sense that this hero is pretty close to one we already have. This is brand new. This is brand new. This is brand new. But like this blog section we already have, this we already have, and this we already have. We'll have to customize them a little bit to match like some of the color tweaks and stuff Steve has kind of applied to this example, but I'm hoping we can build the whole thing like kind of quickly. So I'll show you. If we go to Tailwind UI, there's a hero at the bottom that's very similar to the one that we're about to build. You can see if we head over here, it's got the badge, the title, the text. This one has like some companies down there, but here we have a form. This one has like a form over here, and this has an illustration over there. But otherwise, super similar. So I'm going to use that as a starting point. And then on mobile, it's actually the same too, which is nice. So you can see we've already got this like little popover. We'll have to add this button, change like some colors. Looks like the spacing is a little bit different, so maybe we'll mess around with that. But other than that, it's like definitely going to be a good starting point anyways. So I'm going to grab it from within our actual code base, because sometimes there is loops and stuff like that we use to generate the code to make it a little bit more maintainable on our side. And for things to work, we author things with Alpine but have it converted to comments when we actually publish it, because the Alpine code that we write is very naive and not good, but good enough for just like proof of concept. So I'm going to go and start by just dumping that in here. Oh, my mouse isn't working. And we'll grab this data from up here. And this data, honestly, I feel like we should be able to inline. Where are we referencing items? Ooh. In items. So I'm just going to grab this in items. We're using post HTML for our templating, which is kind of a cool project. It's basically like post CSS, but for HTML. So you can write all these plugins that kind of do fancy stuff, and we have a bunch of our own. But this like each tag, for example, is a post HTML plugin. So with any luck, we should see like something. Okay, there's probably another in items somewhere. Let's let's inline that to in items. In items, okay. All right, so there's our starting point. I'm going to pull this up in a new tab so we can kind of work on it like this. And we'll drop this down to the bottom. And we'll start on the mobile version. So we'll jump to 375. Make sure that we can see this. Okay. And yeah, we'll kind of get this going. So first thing is getting this logo correct here. So if you look, it's probably called like workflow mark indigo 500. So I think I added a new one. Mark. I think it's like this one maybe? Teal 500 to cyan 600, or teal 200 to cyan 400. Teal. I extracted all these from Figma beforehand so that because I have to actually upload these to our production site for them to work in our environment, which is something I'd like to improve. But yeah. So we got that. Next thing is this deal here. One thing I wish we could do in Figma was I wish for gradients I could like set the color stops in the gradients to match existing color styles from here. So when I pull this open, I can see the actual name. Because this is like really difficult to figure out what we're actually looking for now. So what I'll often do in this case is I'll just go here and I'll search for the color in like the Tailwind docs, which is hard because we don't have a lot of screen space. 14B. So we're going to go from teal 500, it looks like. Teal 500, teal 500, teal 500 to cyan 600. Teal 500 to cyan 600. Teal 500 to cyan 600. Teal 500, cyan 600. All right. Just get that somewhere so that we don't forget it. So let's find that we're hiring thing. We're hiring. So we'll just set this to be BG gradient to R. So what was it again? Teal 500 to cyan 600 from teal 500 to cyan 600. And that should get us that gradient. So that's looking pretty good. It also looks like Steve's changed the background color completely here to be darker, which I think actually looks nicer. So there's probably like a BG gray 800 in here or something. So let's make that a 900. We're hiring, I think the background of the thing behind it has to go to black now. So we should be getting closer. Yep. And now let's do this copy. So data to blah, 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 blah. A better way to ship web apps. So this is going to be another gradient. So this is 99F. Let's just copy that and copy that. So we got teal 200 to cyan 400. Teal 200 to cyan 400. Gotta get that out of my brain. So if we do BG clip text, text transparent, BG gradient to R from teal 200 to cyan 400. That should give us like that gradient text. Ooh, yikes. Made a mistake. Okay. And how does Steve have the line breaks going here? Looks like we can probably just make this always block. Okay, cool. I use Alfred for clipboard stuff. All right, so next up, looks like Steve's changed the spacing up here, so we can probably adjust that too. So let's just try and find where that's defined. I'm guessing it's here. So he's got 16, but it should be 10. We'll just change it on this breakpoint and worry about the other breakpoint later. Okay, and let's just use the exact text that he's got here just to make sure that it is the same. And then we can do our input. Okay, so After that, we've got this section down here with like the used by stuff. That can go. This, I feel like we're just going to have to rewrite. And we'll just stick a form in here with a label and an input and a button. Okay, so let's see. This is a 48 pixels tall. So that's probably, what do we got? 12 pixels. So there's no border on this. We'll have to decide what to do for a focus style. But yeah, let's say like email ID email. And what's the distance here? 40. So this is a 10. Okay. So looking at the Figma file, we'll say email address here. We'll do placeholder. Enter your email. We'll do an SR only on this. So that's there for accessibility purposes, but not visible. And for this, I think we're going to do text base, text gray 900, placeholder gray 500. Looks like 12 and 16. PX4, PY2, rounded MD, I'm guessing. This has a border on it, so I think we'll say like border 0. And then for the focus style, I'm not sure, so I'll have to think about that. So I'm going to set this to block width full. And then this button is going to have a lot of the same styles as the input. So we're going to say block width full, PY2, PX4, rounded MD, BG gradient 2R. It looks like it's the same as the we're hiring, so I'll just actually grab this. And we'll say text white, font size is 16, font medium. What does that give us? Yep, that's something. Gap of 12, so MG3. And I feel like this doesn't look like the right height. 40. Is this 40 as well? Okay. I got the padding wrong on these. It should be 3. Okie doke. All right, that's better. Does Steve have shadows on these? No. He does have a shadow on the button. I'll add it, I suppose. Won't be able to see it, but he has it. On hover, we'll just make it go a little bit darker. So we'll say hover from teal 600, hover to cyan 700, maybe. So now we should get, yeah, it's probably, I wish it didn't have to be as extreme, but is what it is. Okay, so we have this text here. So we'll stick that at the bottom of the form, maybe. We'll wrap this in a link. we got for font size on that? Okay, so this is text SM, text gray 300. This is medium and white. Okay, and then for a gap there, we've got 12 pixels. So that's MT3. Something kind of useful, by the way, in the latest version of the VS Code plugin, Brad added pixel values next to the rem values. So now if you're just like trying to find which one's 12, you can just scroll through and see. So the rems are there because it's kind of useful for building sites where you can scale the size. But I think a lot of us probably still think in pixels. So, okay, so the next is this image. So I've got this image. This is taken from this cool Pixels Lucid. These lucid illustrations by this company Pixels that makes like nice design assets. And these are really cool. They're free. And yeah, we chatted with them to see if it'd be okay if we included them for some of the stuff in Tailwind UI, and they said that we could. So we're going to include some of these with like colors tweaked and stuff like that to kind of match the designs that we're using. But they're kind of really nice general purpose sort of illustrations that look pretty hip. So it's cool that we can get those in there. So I think this is it. So underneath here, I mean, we've got this whole section over here, this whole form thing. I think I'm just going to delete that. But I'm going to put the image here and see what we got. tailwindui.com, img component images, that.svg. And we'll just say like cloud infrastructure illustration. Okay, so there's that. Steve's got a gap of 48 there, so we'll do MT12. And it's like kind of cut off at the bottom by, I don't know, some amount. So first, maybe let's see where this padding is coming from, because we probably don't need it. So there's like a PB16 here. I think I'm just going to like rip that off. Or maybe we can try like negative MB32 and just like see, do we get like, because you might just want to make this based on the image, you know, like you might still technically want padding conceptually, but you're just pulling the image off the screen. So let's leave it like this for now. Let's just kind of eyeball it. It looks like it's cutting off like in the middle of these like little rectangles here. We got pretty close there, honestly, so we can just roll with it. All right, I'm gonna have a little bit of Coke Zero here. Great beverage. All right. So let's do this pop over. Let's just see what we have currently. So it's kind of pretty close, honestly. I'll just find where that is here. So let's just set our data here to true so that on refresh it's already open. And I think we just have to change this workflow thing. So workflow mark teal. I think it's going to be this one, teal 500, cyan 600. Cyan 600. Okay. These all look fine. I think, again, Steve kind of bumped up the space between everything. Also, it looks like he made the text darker. Let's see. Maybe they're just like 900 already. Now the tricky thing is these have like a little padding on them. So if you want to get the space right, it looks like there's about 32 pixels between there. So we have to look at this and think, okay, there's an extra, how much padding on here? 8 pixels. So 32 minus 8, 24. So we actually want the gap here to be 24. So is there actually no space between these right now? Oh, there's some padding around this. So PT6 maybe? Does that look right? Something I'll often do is just kind of like this sort of trick, you know, just kind of eyeball, like, does that seem like it's in the right spot? Seems like maybe it's a tiny bit low, but pretty close. There might be something else going on. Let's see, let's measure with the old 44. Yeah, it's not quite right for one reason or another. Let's just eyeball it. And then there's a button down here, and it looks like Steve got rid of the two-tone thing. So we can get rid of that too, maybe. So what does he have here? Existing customer, login. So this will be text base, font medium, text gray 500. This will be text gray 900. Maybe like hover underline or something. Just kind of. Okay. And I guess we want text center on this. Okay. And this has got 24, 24. It's making me trying to, I don't know, it's hard to know where to put some of the padding sometimes. Like, it doesn't matter, you know? That's the thing that makes it tough. Maybe we'll just do, what do we have for horizontal padding here? 20 on the edges, px5, py6. And then we'll put this button in here. Let's find that start free trial button and we'll just copy it. We'll make this a link this time though, since it can't really be a button because there's not really any form. So that's probably going to be, yeah, aligned weirdly. So it's almost like this needs nothing. But that's kind of weird. I feel like maybe this should have nothing too in that case, and we should actually move some padding to this thing. PT5. What was it here? PB6. Let's get rid of this. And then hopefully everything will be kind of tight together and we can just do this the old-fashioned way. So 24, MT6. And this is 32, but we have to account for that padding on this thing, which is 8, so 24, so it should be the same. Okay, so this should pretty much be correct now. We do have like a indigo there, so maybe we'll swap that out with a teal. I don't know. Yikes, that's ugly. Cyan. What color should I use for that? Tough thing about doing gradients for everything is that when you do have to use a solid color, it's really hard to know what the right solid color to use is. Since this goes to cyan 600 most of the time, I'm leaning towards 600. Okay. So let's set this back to closed by default. Julia says I have to center the illustration. How is it not centered? I mean, it's not explicitly centered, but it's bigger than the... I guess there's no padding. Okay, gotcha. 16. Okay, so let's do like a... maybe we'll give this like an explicit width full, just to make sure. Okay, so that's pretty good. All right, thanks for that. All right, so yeah, I guess let's just move on to the next section. Okay, so got our main, got our deal here. So I'm going to call this feature section with screenshots. So do we have an H1? Yes, this will be like an H2. H2 serverless, P no server, no problem. P Facellis lorm quam molestiad kisk diam blobbity boobity bop. And let's clean up this formatting a little bit. Okay, so here we've got text, base, font, semi-bold. Oh my goodness, can't type. Font, semi-bold, tracking wider, text, cyan, don't know, 0694. I guess we can find that out like this. What? It's reading from the wrong config. That's okay. It's because this is a really complex project with 3 different Tailwind configs in it. Oops. We'll go to tailwindcss.com and find the colors. Usually we use color styles for this, but somehow this one got slipped up. 0694A2. Whoa, it's not even a real color. TL 600. I'm gonna go with cyan 600. Yeah, none of these have color styles, so We'll have to just guess. 047481. Yikes, Steve. Okay, we'll just go with cyan 600. We'll kind of skew towards cyan for these things. Here we've got 8 pixels between that. This is text 3XL, fonts extra bold. Sick. Okay. Whoops. Oh, weird that the image is like overlapping. Because this has a relative on it. Or there's a relative somewhere. Let's change this to be like 24. I guess the problem is like, depending on the size, this kind of gets messed up. Maybe we can just go with like 20, 16, 12. Probably 16 is good. And then we'll figure out that scaling stuff. We might need to give it a max width or something. Okay. Where's this BG Gray 900 stuff coming from anyways? Div. It's kind of not the best place to have this color. Whoa. But there's not really any good shared parent between these either. Let's just see. Does this go in the right spots? I don't really want it extending all the way down. The tough thing is because like you want this to be in the main tag and you want everything else after it to be in the main tag too, that there's no like common parent between this and this that's unique to those. So no matter what, we have to have like a BG Gray 900 in some different spots, but maybe I just need to do it like here and then move this up and then take this stuff and then similarly find this one. Yeah, it's kind of sucks. Move that up like that. But now there's like you could do this. Oh, weird. What? Why'd that happen? That's odd. Yeah, I need to put that here. but even this feels like kind of hacky. I really want these to be in the same element instead of just like, you know, there's a dark element here, and like a dark element up here. And even when you like look at the breakdown of oh, there's got a spammer. How do I make someone a mod? Manage moderators. Okay. God, then don't make this straightforward. Moderators. Robin. What is Robin's username? Or can I just... There we go. That should work. That was easier. All right. Now Robin can do that stuff. Yeah, so right now I'm trying to figure out like the best way, the most sensible location for some of this stuff to be. So like imagine this div doesn't even exist for simplicity. We've got this div that's got like some padding on it at the top. Then we've got like a main section. This has some padding on it. Like it's fine, but it's also just like arbitrary. I don't know. Let's just live with it for now and see. Okay, so we'll add our uppercase text here. And we're going to center everything. This needs to have 64 at the top. I'm expecting that there's going to have to be another thing here. PT16. Just because there's going to need to be a container. There's going to be a background color. You always need to have extra wrappers. Always. Because we got to do this PX6 here probably. Or 4. So 8, 20. I guess the next thing, let's just do the paragraph styles here. So this is text XL and looks like probably gray 500. And we'll just center all this stuff. And what do we got for gap? 20. Okay. This will be PX4. And that's looking... This is a sad situation. Is there letter spacing on that? No. If this makes it not wrap, I'm going to be sad. Ugh. Yikes. Don't tell Steve. Looks better anyways. Okay. So then we've got this screenshot down here. Oh, it looks like this is on a gray background too, not white. Okay, so we got a screenshot, which I think I called that something. Green project app screenshot. Seems fine. Green project app screenshot dot, what is it? It's probably a JPEG for file size. Okay. Concerns. Looks bad, but that's okay. So, looks like we've got a little bit of a corner radius on there. Which I'm guessing is probably on this frame. 4 pixel corner radius, and then a a shadow of some kind. I don't know, something like that probably. Okay, and 48 pixels above it. It's weird that that looks so like pixelated when it gets that small. Okay. I'll move this over to the side. Don't really need this as bad as I need the vertical space. Okay. Okay, so we got that. Am I zoomed in here? Oh, this is zoomed out. Knew something felt weird. Does this gap look weird to you? Eight, letting 9. Oh, it's because the line height on this is weird. So you have to eyeball it, or is this working? Yeah. Let me just go with 4 pixels, whatever. Maybe not. That's fine. Okay. Sometimes it's nice to add like a little border around these images, like a really subtle one, but I don't know if Steve has that in this case. He's got like a pretty aggressive shadow. I'm going to try and add one using the ring utilities. All right, let's do ring 1, ring black, ring opacity 5. It's kind of my go-to. Just adds like a little extra, you know, just a little clean little line there to break it away from the background. What if we brought this to an LG shadow? XL was better. Okay. All right, so this section looks like it's the same as this section. So we can kind of use that as a starting point. I'm just going to duplicate this whole thing, and we'll call this like feature section with grid. I don't know. Deploy faster. Everything you need to deploy your app. And this is white, so we'll change that to white. And we're going to pull this image down a little bit. Looks like we want to cut it off at about Heroicons. That's about 40 pixels. So we'll do like a negative MT10 on the image. Hopefully that does what we want. No. Negative margins, man. They are a mystery. MB10? Okay, that seems good. Change this text just so everything's as identical as possible. Looks like maybe it's already the same. Okay, then we're going to build out these things. These will be kind of fun. Okay, so looks like we've got 48. So that's fine. And here we're going to have a grid of stuff. Grid calls 1. 32, gap 8. And we'll have an each in here so that we don't have to duplicate this. And this will be probably like icon, title, and I guess we'll just use like the same lorem ipsum text for all of them. So we'll just have those two. So let's go to Heroicons and find out what all these icons are called. Cloud upload. Cloud upload. Push to deploy. Lock closed. And then looks like refresh or something. Yeah. Simple cues. Looks like we should capitalize that. Okay. So, yeah, here we're going to have an item with a thing in it for the icon, X Heroicon, type, outline, name, item.icon. We should see something happening. Yep. Okay. And this is going to be gray 50, I'm sure. Got a corner radius of 8. Padding. What is that? 24. And 32. H3. Item.title. This stuff. Let's kind of clean that up. Okay, so that's obviously not looking done by any means, but we're getting there. So let's style this icon. So I'm going to do a span around the icon. Span is going to be flex, inline flex, item center, justify center. It is 48, 24, so it's 12 on all sides. P3, BG gradient to R from teal 500 to cyan 600. Rounded MD probably. And then the SVG itself is going to be H6W6 text white. And then we'll get the title and the text done, and then we'll figure out the spacing. So this actually needs a shadow too. Okay, shadow LG. Okay, so this title is text LG. Font medium, text gray 900, tracking tight. Surprised Steve did tracking on that text. Here we've got 19, I guess we'll call it 20. And what's the text? Regular gray 500. MT5. And the gap between here and here is 32. Okay, so now we just need to pull this up. So one way to do that is, I think, put all this in here. So let's look. This is supposed to be in the middle of that. So we could say like PB8, just to make this simple mathematically, and pull this up by 12, negative MT3. I'm stupid. Negative MT6. And then the only thing that's a little bit funky is how that's impacting the grid here. I think we want to do like flow root on this maybe. No, flow root on this. Let me think. I'm trying to think of like the most resilient declarative way for this to be treated as the top of the element. Like a simple hack is to just add 6 to this, which probably won't work because I don't think we have gap 14. Oh, we do. That surprises me. Yeah, we do have it. So like that works. But I'm wondering, like, is this even right? No, like that's not right either. So what's a clever way? I swear there's a way with CSS to kind of make like this be inside the box, but maybe not now that I think about it. I mean, that's fine. We can just like measure from here to here, you know, 72 basically, and from here to here, which is like 55. It's kind of a weird one. It's not that hard to do, honestly. We could just do like a dot pt6 here, move this up, why does that get pulled up? Just break that for a second. This should, there we go. Does it work here? Flowword is like a confusing thing. No. It basically makes something, it avoids collapsing margins. It creates like a barrier between collapsing margin situations. So I guess that works in this case. So now if you look at each one of these, right, it is the right size, but it's just kind of unfortunate that we had to do that like padding trick. But it's fine. At least it keeps like, I think we can go back to this being 8 now. And, you know, everything is kind of like based on the gaps around these icons, which kind of feels better. Kind of depends what we do on the desktop layout, actually. No, that still feels good. Yeah, we'll just keep it like that. Okay. Let's look at the next section. So I'm thinking about how this could work. There's two ways that we could sort of build this testimonial thing. I'm just trying to look at all the different options to try and understand the best path forward. Basically what I'm trying to decide is, should this be pulling out of the top, or should there be kind of like a make-believe box back here, and that's where the white is coming from? Like, do we want to consider this gap here to be part of the parent section, and this is just like being pulled up to overlap? Or does the parent section actually like end here? You know, like that's the padding that matches this padding. And anything after that is really just part of this element. I'm inclined to build it that way because it feels like easier to make it stackable. But there's some situations where it wouldn't work. Like if you had something in the background here that like had to bleed across both, it could be complicated. So the tough thing is if you try to do this with a negative margin to pull this out, as the page stretches and the image gets wider, the negative margin is going to be like a fixed amount, where that might not be what you want. But at the same time, it looks like the image drastically changes, like aspect ratios and stuff all over the place. So I'm just trying to think like what's the best way to approach it. Like, I guess we can just try something, you know. No matter what, we're going to need to have a new section for it. So maybe we'll just like build the whole thing and worry about the overlap as like the last kind of phase of it. Either way, I imagine there's like a div with like an image. I know that we have, actually I think I have it open here. There's another component that has the same picture in it right here. So we'll slam that in there. And then we've got this punctuation thing. I know we use those too on our other testimonials. Right here. I'm just going to grab that right there. Okay, so after the image section, we're going to have like the section with like the block quote, and there's going to be like an SVG in there. And what's the markup for a block quote these days? So we went with block quote with a div, with a blah, with a footer. So we'll do a block quote here with a div, with the SVG, with a P, with a footer, and we'll rough in the content there. So this is like Judith Black, CEO at Pure Insights. Here we got some lorem ipsum. Okay, so I mean this should look bad, but it'll be something. This, we want to have that gradient on it. BG gradient to R from, let's just guess that that's teal 500 to cyan 600. Okay. Okay, so for the image, I'm trying to decide like, do we want to give it a fixed height or do we want to give it an aspect ratio? I suspect an aspect ratio is probably better. 204 divided by 344. It's basically like a 6:10 aspect ratio. So we'll do aspect width 10, aspect h6. With any luck, that gives us class equals object cover. Oh, I was going to say, should work. Okay. And we got shadow XL, rounded XL, and probably overflow hidden. Okay, so the gradient stuff is obviously not taken care of here, but you could just move this up here for now. All right. So then this block quote has a 52, which is kind of a weird one. We'll call it a 12, I guess. I'm guessing the SVG actually has this. We're going to want to figure out. So this SVG, we have it as a square here, and Steve's got it as 43 pixels wide, which I'm guessing, yeah, we probably want to go H12, W12. Yeah, I mean, like, that's probably right. And what does he have it as? White 25%, text white, opacity 25. And inside this section, we're going to have px4. Whoa. And all right. You know how much easier this is not streaming, where I can just fit everything on my monitor? I buy a 32-inch 6K monitor so I can be productive, and then I do these live streams where I have to make everything look good in a YouTube window, where I can't even use it. Unbelievable. Oops. Okay. Yeah, that looks close. And then for this footer, looks like we've got 24 pixel gap. And this looks like it's text white, but probably some other stuff going on. Text base, font medium, text white. Text base, font medium, text cyan 100. Okay. Then we've got a gap of 67. So I guess we'll find this maybe and PB16 on that. Okay. And then for this image one, we'll do like the same thing, px4. Then we just have to decide how to like pull that up. So we can always do like negative MT 12 or whatever, you know, and pull it up. 16, 24. The problem with this is as it gets wider, you'll see it's only going to stay overlapped by like the exact same amount, which I don't know, maybe that's fine. It just feels like weird that as you get smaller, it's like gets to a point where, you know, it's not even overlapping, which is fine in a way, but just kind of feels weird to me because it feels like it's not modeled properly. You know what I mean? Like that shouldn't happen if it was modeled properly. So I don't know. Let's roll with it for a second. If we find this and we do like, this is my trick, by the way, for all this stuff. I'll do like that exact margin with the exact padding. So now they're going to be touching. And now any number that I increase this by is going to give me like this gap. So if I need 64, then I need to add 16 to that basically. So this should give me the same thing as the Figma file. So this works. But yeah, it's just a little bit, just feels a little bit wrong that that stays like that. So how about I show you like another approach so we can kind of compare. So another is to make this just PB16, right? Get rid of the negative margin on the top of this. Wrap this in another div. Give this a class of relative. Make a absolute inset x0 top 0 h 1/2 bg white container here. And now you'll see like that always stays exactly halfway in the image. So no matter how small we get, the gradient is always cutting off exactly half of the image. And that feels like more bulletproof. But I'm not sure that that's what Steve necessarily wants either. And again, it gets weird because of the fact that you're cheating a little bit, you know, like there's an element here. And I could make that not white. And I mean, that's kind of helpful for like understanding what's happening. You know, like you can see I have like a div there. The tricky thing is that's a fully opaque container meant to cover up this gradient. And if it's not there, like if I set it to opacity 0, it reveals the gradient behind it. It doesn't reveal some continuity from up here, if that makes sense. It's fine for now, but it does make me a little nervous. Like, if you had like some illustration behind this that like bled out and overlapped both of these sections, you'd have a hard time kind of positioning it properly. But yeah, this is probably the more bulletproof solution. So yeah, we'll roll with it this way for now. Okay, so then after this, it's like stuff that we've already built for Tailwind UI. So I'm hoping we can slam some of that stuff in with minimal changes, and that'll sort of demonstrate that Tailwind UI is a useful tool. What does Steve got for this? So he got rid of something here. You'll see in this one, there's like a little half overlap thing there. He made some tweaks, but we can use this as a starting point for sure, which is kind of how Tailwind UI is meant to be used. So we'll take this 3-column cards thing. Yikes. We'll find this testimonial section, blog section, grab the data that we're using. And up here, we'll say like blog items. Okay, hopefully that'll compile. Okay, so we've got our blog stuff down here. And for purchasing power parity stuff on Tailwind UI, if you email us, we can definitely hook you up. Okay, so I guess I'm just gonna probably borrow the styling for this stuff. I think that's actually pretty much what we want. Learn. It's kind of tough to know like when to make this the H like heading versus this. In this case, it feels like this one is, because it really is like labeling it, and this is kind of just like, I don't know. But it's also kind of weird because semantically you would want this P tag to be under the H2 so that you kind of know it's related. But this is why our buddy David Lure is on the team and he can help me out with these sorts of things. Nice having an accessibility expert on staff. Big time. Okay, so we're just going to find anything that says indigo in here, which is hopefully not too much. Change it to cyan. And look at these gaps, 24. Oh, interesting. Okay. Yeah, we had a little bit too tight of a gap by default there. But like otherwise, that's pretty much right. The only thing is there's this like big background overlay thing that we don't need anymore. So we just got to find where that is. I think it's this. Yep. And what color background has this got? Okay. Okay, so that's probably good. Maybe this gap is different. 52. Steve, buddy, what have you done? Me and him can just review it at the end and figure out what we got. Okay, so then we got this call to action section, which again is already in Tailwind UI, I think. Call to CTA sections. Down here, the split with image one. Split with image, V2. So after the blog section, so this will be kind of interesting to get this gradient working. So I can show you how that would be done. So it looks like Steve is zooming this image in a little bit more here, which we may mimic or may not. I think it kind of depends how the desktop one works. Desktop one's kind of zoomed in too. Maybe not though. We'll play with the unsplash parameters a little bit and try and get something cool going on. So if you look at this, he's got a gradient on it. It looks like it's 14B to 091, 14B to 091, 14B to 091, 14B teal 500, 089, teal 500 to cyan 600. So you'll see here when we did the original one, teal 500 cyan 600, teal 500 cyan 600. The what is the use case for Tailwind CSS? To build websites without wasting your time writing CSS and naming things. Because yeah, it's a pain to name stuff. Like what would you call this section? Or what would you call this class? You know, it's so slow. All right. So you'll notice here with this Figma image, or with this Unsplash image, we actually are encoding a mixed blend mode sort of cool thing into the image itself. So see how this image is all like indigo-y and stuff? That's because in the query parameters, we're actually adding like a blend with a desaturation and like a multiply. So if I cut this out, you can see there's the original image. But we can blend it with whatever we want. Like say we wanted to blend it with like some horrifying green. Oh wait, blue. Green would be this. Right? You can kind of do crazy stuff. But you can't blend it with a gradient, which is not going to work for us. So instead what we're going to do is we're not going to blend it with anything. We are going to desaturate it, but we're going to add a div on top. BG gradient to R from teal 500 to cyan 600. And we're going to make it absolute inset 0. And we're going to say aria hidden true, so David doesn't kill me. And we're going to make this relative. And then we're also going to make this what do we got for the opacity on the gradient is like fine. So we just need to do like a multiply on it, right? So Tailwind doesn't have like mixed blend mode utilities, but that's, who cares? Like we could add them, but I'm totally comfortable just doing this. And then we're done. Okay, so what's the content? Looks like the same. Looks like Steve darkened this background though, so we'll do that. 900. And then what is these text colors, just to make sure? No, we don't know. Let's just hope it's the same. Here we've got 48 padding on the top. That looks like it's the same in the bottom. Let's just zoom in the image anyways. We should be able to do that with the Unsplash stuff. Let me see. Fit, crop, or ImageX query zoom. Is that a thing? Crop mode. Okay, so crop from the left of the image right. Yeah, looks like it's gonna be annoying. That's okay. All right, so I think after this, there's just a footer, which exists in Tailwind UI too. I think it's just this first one, 4-column with company mission. This is taken from Silicon Valley, season 1, by the way. Nice little Easter egg. Okay. So I guess we do this after main. And we got to get all this. Oh, whoops. Lost solutions. So we need to find in solutions footer dot solutions in footer dot footer dot footer dot, and then hope this isn't broken. Check the console. Social is not defined. Okay, so there's a footer. Steve told me before that he changed the color of it to gray 500. So we'll just do that. Gray 50, sorry. There's some extra padding at the bottom here. Looks like that's probably coming from this one, PB16 SMPB24. I guess we'll just delete that and figure it out when we do the responsive stuff. Tailwind is very maintainable. The main purpose behind Tailwind is not for prototyping. It's literally because maintaining CSS written the traditional way is painful. So the main goal of Tailwind is to increase maintainability. I've interviewed lots of people at big companies like Diana Mounter, who works at GitHub, about how much more maintainable their stuff is since switching from like more traditional BEM style stuff to utilities. Because when you need to change something, you actually know where to go and you know that it's safe to change. So I would just try it. I wouldn't worry about the maintainability stuff without actually trying it. Anyways, so here's our bad looking desktop version. Usually what I do next is I look at like the 639 breakpoint and just make sure that there's nothing that looks like really bad, because this is kind of like the next step to before 640. So sometimes Steve gives me this breakpoint, sometimes he doesn't. So I usually just kind of figure it out myself. Okay, so it looks like at 768 we switched to like a centered layout. So maybe we can do that for the 640 one too. But for the 639 one, I think the 639 one is tricky. Like we could constrain this. Again, we can't make any changes from like this size to 639. Like any changes we make have to like not affect the 375 one. So some simple stuff is like putting a max width on here. Some things to consider are honestly like just centering the whole thing, even though Steve has it left aligned. You can do things like just constrain the whole thing, you know, to be like, I don't know, 24 rems or something. Feels a little unnecessary, but let's think about it. Say we went to this area. So PX4, SM, PX6, So here we've got like a max width 7XL. So we had like a max width 28. And this was like on SM or whatever. This is maybe a good move, honestly. Like just kind of like making the whole thing like a sensible mobile size. I don't know, I kind of like it. And then down here we can do the same thing. Where do we do the... Yeah, okay, so... This actually needs to not be like this. I have to make sure I do the max width on the same element that has the padding. Otherwise things never really work. So I'm not sure if this is actually a bug. I'll have to look at that. Yeah, this looks good. I think this is the right way to do it. Just like constrain the whole thing a little bit. So do the same thing here. Then down in this section, same thing, max width, MD, MX Auto. Like you could see how you might want this image to just be like larger, you know, but at the same time, I don't know, it kind of feels clean to me like this. MX Auto, max width, MD. Same down here. So this one, down there. Yeah, like this feels like it's got a lot of space. This feels good. I don't know why we never did this for like all the mobile layouts, honestly. This is seems like a no-brainer in hindsight. Steve is going to look at it and be like, yep, this is better. At least I hope so. Yeah, we should have just constrained every single mobile layout to whatever this is, 4 something. What is it? 448. Yeah, man, that is what I'm talking about. Okay. And then this call to action section, award-winning support. The worst thing about Tailwind UI, developing it, is when you kind of land on a nice pattern for something after you've already built 300 components that don't include that approach. Okay, so that looks nice. I like how that turned out. Steve is my business partner. Steve Shoger. He's the one who does all the designing, and then I help out with the building. Other people on the team do the building too, but Steve is a design guy. He's the idea guy. All right, let's max with MD on this too, maybe? I don't know. I'm wondering what to do for the top nav. Like, do we think it's better like this or all the way to the edges? Like, this is still kind of... I think it's better at the edges. Because you want to be able to reach with your thumb easily. Okay. Yeah, so let's see. Let's jump to 640 now. So at 640, looks like things get centered already. Yeah, but we have this max width MD thing unnecessarily. Okay. All right, so here I gotta kind of make some decisions about what should happen. So SMPT24, I'm just gonna delete that for now. Where's their max width here? So this is max width MD. MD max width 2XL. Maybe we can do it with like an SM max width 2XL. I don't know. Trying to decide what this should look like. I feel like we almost don't need a max width, but if there is one, it should be the same as the one that's here. But then we want these to at least go next to each other. And I guess we want this text to get a lot bigger too. So I guess we'll just see what we can do with that. Oh, is a letting none here? That's not necessary. SM text 5XL? 6XL? I don't know. We'll just see. Yeah, that's good. And then I got to figure out some padding stuff. There's probably some PX4s that are missing SMPX6s, which is something we always... It's like a consistent pattern we use for the page padding. Okay, class SM flex. SM MT0. Oh, where's the dir? Gotta add the old wrapper div. Okay. And then for a gap here, looks like we've got 12. And it looks like here we've got min width 0, flex 1. But combined, we've got a width of 581, 36. MX Auto. It's long. Don't let me forget to do that focus style. All right. This text probably has the same max width, which actually makes me think we can move that to here. Okay. Spacing is 16. So this can become SMMT4. Spacing here to here is 48-ish. Okay. The image gets bigger. Looks like it's the same as the other stuff. So we can say SM max width XL. Maybe. SM what did we do for the max width on this? 2XL. So just thinking this through to make sure that we don't end up with like padding in the wrong place. So like this has a max width and a padding. This has max width and a padding, with padding is different. Okay, so 2XL with a PX6 should be close enough to sensible. So the tough thing is trying to decide what to do for the placement of this image, because again you've got this kind of like funky thing where the image shrinks, you know? So at 640 I feel like this is revealing too much of the image. So we'll definitely probably bump this up to like 32 maybe. Maybe even more. 48. 40? What does Steve have at the... See, at the 768 size, he's got it cutting off... I guess we're not far off, really. He's cutting off a little bit less. 36, maybe. 32. It's really just at 640, does it feel like... I don't know. It feels okay. At the same time, I just feel like that I want it to be shorter here. Like, it doesn't feel like an important image. It's just really just like for flashiness. So I feel like you could literally just show like the top of it like that, and that kind of gets the point across. Yeah, I think I'm just going to make an executive decision on that. We don't do any client work or anything like that, unfortunately. Sorry. Did you forget to change the background color of the burger menu? Oh shit, something funky's going on up there. The background color of the burger menu. Why is there a line? This background color? It's supposed to be white, right? Where's this border coming from? Is there even a border there, or is this just a glitch? Because we've got two elements touching. This part looks white. I feel like is it, you know what, this is a zoom problem, I bet. Fuck. This is why I hate that we have to have two elements that have the same background color and have them touch, because if you zoom out to 75% or 76% or whatever weird thing, you know, it creates little artifacts. But whatever. Okay, so yeah, this is probably like not going to be needing to change much. We can probably I'm confused about the comment about the menu, the hamburger menu background color. I mean, this is the menu. This is definitely white. You know, this is the menu. This is definitely white. They look the same to me. But I could be missing what you mean. Change the background color of the burger menu. Do you mean the button? Ah, yeah, the button itself. Okay, so the button's got to be dark. Gotcha. So this should be 900. Hover 600 probably. Or wait, hover 800. Yeah. All right. Cool. Understood. Thank you. Okay. So at this point, I'm just trying to decide like what sort of constraints to use for different things. Like if we go to like 767. It's probably a good place to judge. So like this could certainly be wider probably, but maybe not that much wider. We might be able to get away with like 2 columns here, although they might be a little bit tight, but we can try it. So let's maybe just start by going to the server listing. And we'll add our SMPX6 SM max width 7XL is kind of like the full screen size. And we'll just, you know, ask ourselves, is that good? It is pretty close to the design anyways. So I guess we'll just roll with that for now. Although I do like something about having everything kind of tight in the middle. You still see the hamburger button if the menu is open. This is the close button. See how you can see that border there? Ugh. I can't think of any good way to solve that. That's really depressing. I should ask David Lure. He can help. Okay, so I was going to do this grid thing. So let's just try 2-column grid at this size and see what we get. That's not good, but we need to change the max width stuff. That's probably fine, honestly. Yeah, Gav, your answer is correct. The problem is the markup structure for accessibility reasons. This is in the main, and everything else needs to be kind of like in like the header, which I actually don't even have it in the header here, so I should think about that too. But the problem is this main section needs to contain this and everything that comes after this, and this needs to be in a separate element. So it's like there's no like direct div that can just wrap both of these, because if I try to do that, then I'm also wrapping all this other stuff because of the kind of HTML5 elements. Oh shit, does Steve have 4? Oh, he's got like all these extra things. Advanced security, powerful API, database backups. Guess we need to get those in there. So that's like shield check. Is that a thing? Oh, I guessed it correctly. And then what is this one going to be? Cog? Oh, I guessed it correctly. And what's his other one? The servers one. That one I don't know. It's probably servers. Server. Okay, so advanced security, powerful API, database backups. Got another border here, see? Oh. We could always do like a negative margin overlapping thing. Oh, man, that's disgusting. Okay. I don't know if this should be like constrained more. I guess not. Okay, so now this one. Now it's like full width. 720 divided by 256. 256 divided by 720. I don't know. You could do like a 6/16 or a 5/16 or yeah, we'll see. We'll have to figure out this aspect ratio. Where are you? Aspect width 16, aspect H6. Should be like long and narrow now. And then we can do SM max width 7XL, SM PX6. And same for this. SM max width 7XL. But now that like half bleed trick thing is kind of working well. Looks like we got way more space here now. 96. SM PB 24. Might not want to do this on SM. We might want to wait to do it on MD, but I don't know. It's pretty big. Everything's looking pretty huge. What do we got for this padding above deploy faster? That jumps to 96, and so does this. Okay. So I need to change that too. This should just be... Don't need that there. And then up here, I think we'll just move this here. SMPT24. Okay. And then the learn stuff, I bet is the same. 96. What has he got for the padding on the bottom of that? 96. Did he change it here? 64. 64. So he actually made these the same. Which is probably simpler. And then, are these blog articles kind of supposed to be like that at the screen size? Oh, he's got them in a fucking max width thing. They're probably already in one, actually. Okay, so that's probably good. Feels like if these are going to be constrained, that maybe this should be constrained. Same with this at 768. I got to figure out this header too. There's an extra button up here, but I don't think Steve would care if I just didn't add that. Tough one. Like 1023 is like always a good one to look at. Feels too wide. Yeah, the stream will just be saved on YouTube, so no worries there. Like that constraint on the hero kind of feels like maybe that would be useful to carry through the whole thing. All right. I think I'm going to run because some of these are like decisions I need to figure out with Steve. So probably going to hop on a call with him and work through some design stuff because no Figma design ever survives first contact with the browser. Yeah, we kind of did some neat stuff, I think, some cool tricks. I'm going to be building this stuff every day for the next 100 million years. So hopefully I'll do some more live streams and stuff. So yeah, we'll wrap this one up for now. Hopefully it was kind of fun and maybe learned a thing or two. And with any luck, maybe I'll do like another one later this week when I'm working on a different design. All right. Thanks everyone. See ya.